What if I told you that in 1970, Muhammad Ali walked into a restaurant in Louisville and came face to face with the man who had tormented him throughout high school, calling him ugly and stupid in front of girls, making his teenage years a living hell. The bully was now a broken man, struggling to feed his family, unaware that the skinny kid he'd humiliated had become the most famous athlete in the world. What Ali said in those next 20 minutes didn't just heal old wounds, it transformed a life and proved that true champions aren't made in boxing rings. They're made in moments when you choose mercy over revenge. If this story moves you, hit that subscribe button and share a time when someone's grace changed your perspective forever. October 15th, 1970. Central High School's 15-year reunion was being held at Morrison's restaurant on 4th Street in Louisville, Kentucky. Muhammad Ali, now 28 years old, and the most recognizable face on the planet, hadn't planned to attend. He was in town visiting his parents between training camps, and his mother Odessa had convinced him to stop by just to say hello to your old classmates. Ali walked into the crowded restaurant wearing a simple brown suit, his signature confidence radiating through the room. Conversations stopped. People pointed. Within minutes, he was surrounded by former classmates wanting autographs, photos, and a chance to say they knew him when. But across the room, sitting alone at a corner table, was a man Ali recognized instantly, though he wished he hadn't. Tommy Rodriguez. 6'2", broad shoulders. The same cruel eyes that had haunted Ali's nightmares 15 years earlier. But something was different now. Tommy looked smaller somehow, older than his 28 years. His clothes were worn, his shoes scuffed. He was staring into a cup of coffee like it held the answers to questions he couldn't ask. The truth was, Tommy Rodriguez was drowning. The boy who had once ruled Central High's hallways with an iron fist was now a man who couldn't look his own children in the eye. His construction job had ended 3 months ago. His wife Maria worked double shifts at the diner to keep food on the table for their 2 young daughters. The family was 3 months behind on rent, and Tommy spent his days walking the streets looking for work that never came. But 16 years earlier, none of that mattered. Tommy Rodriguez had been king of Central High, the star athlete who dated the prettiest girls and made life miserable for anyone he deemed beneath him. And nobody was more beneath him in his mind than Cassius Clay, the weird, skinny kid who talked too much and had dreams too big for his own good. The torment had started in freshman year. "Hey, big lips," Tommy would shout across the cafeteria, making sure everyone could hear. "You gonna float like a butterfly right into special ed?" The cruel laughter that followed would echo in young Cassius's ears for hours. Tommy would knock books from his hands, trip him in hallways, and once, memorably, pushed him into a locker so hard that Cassius's nose bled. But the worst moment had come during junior year. Cassius had finally worked up the courage to ask Betty Sue Morrison to the spring dance. He'd practiced his speech for weeks, imagining how her face would light up when he asked. Instead, as he approached her locker with sweaty palms and a racing heart, Tommy appeared out of nowhere. "Betty Sue," Tommy had called out, loud enough for half the hallway to hear. "This ugly fool wants to ask you something. Better say no unless you want people thinking you like freaks." The laughter that erupted felt like physical blows. Betty Sue had looked embarrassed, but not for Cassius, for herself, for being associated with him even for a moment. Sorry, Cassius," she'd whispered. "I'm not really looking to date right now." Cassius had walked away, his face burning with shame, while Tommy's laughter followed him down the hall. That night, he'd cried into his pillow, wondering why God had made him different, why he couldn't just be normal like everyone else. Now 16 years later, Muhammad Ali stood in a restaurant, looking at his former tormentor, but all those memories came flooding back. The smart thing would have been to ignore Tommy, to bask in the adoration of everyone else, and let the man who'd made his teenage years hell suffer in silence. Ali had every right to let Tommy Rodriguez fade into the obscurity he deserved, but something in Tommy's posture caught Ali's attention. The same slumped shoulders that Cassius had carried through those hallways, the same look of defeat that had once stared back at him from bathroom mirrors. This wasn't the confident bully he remembered. This was a broken man. Ali excused himself from his admirers and walked slowly across the restaurant. Tommy looked up as a shadow fell across his table, and his face went white. The coffee cup trembled in his hands as he recognized the most famous athlete in the world standing before him. "Cassius," Tommy whispered, then caught himself. "I mean, Muhammad Ali? Oh God, I didn't expect to see you here." Ali pulled out a chair and sat down without invitation. "Hello, Tommy. How you been?" The question hung in the air like smoke. Tommy's mouth opened and closed, but no words came. Here was the boy he'd tormented, now a world champion worth millions, asking about his life with what sounded like genuine interest. It didn't make sense. This had to be some kind of setup, some elaborate revenge. Good. Tommy finally managed, though everything about him screamed otherwise. "Just, living life. Working construction. Got a family now." The lies came automatically, the same defensive posturing that had protected him in high school. Ali studied Tommy's face for a long moment. The cruel confidence was gone, replaced by something Ali recognized all too well, the desperation of a man who'd lost his way. "Tommy," Ali said quietly, "you don't look good. You look like a man carrying weight he don't want to carry. Talk to me. For real this time." And that's when Tommy Rodriguez broke down. Right there in Morrison's restaurant, surrounded by the quiet chatter of their former classmates, the man who had once made Ali's life miserable began to cry. Not the angry tears of frustration, but the deep, soul-shaking sobs of a man who had been holding back his pain for too long. "I'm sorry," Tommy whispered through his tears. "I'm so sorry for what I did to you. For all those years. I know it. Don't mean nothing now, you being famous and all, but I'm sorry. I was a terrible person, and I've been terrible ever since." Ali leaned forward, his voice gentle. "Tommy, why'd you do it? Why'd you pick on me like that?" Tommy wiped his eyes with the back of his hand, leaving wet streaks across his cheeks. "Because you had something I didn't have. You had dreams. You talked about being heavyweight champion like it was actually going to happen. You believed in yourself in a way that scared me. I was good at football, but I knew I wasn't going nowhere with it. You had this light in you, and I guess I wanted to put it out because it made my own darkness feel worse." The words came pouring out now. Years of buried guilt and self-hatred. "My dad used to beat me, every night when he came home drunk. Told me I was worthless, that I'd never amount to nothing, and instead of proving him wrong, I became him. I took that anger, and I put it on you, because you were an easy target, because you were different." Ali listened without judgment, recognizing the pain behind the cruelty. "Where's your daddy now, Tommy?" "Dead," Tommy said flatly. "Liver gave out when I was 20, but the damage was done. I never learned how to be nothing but angry, lost job after job because I can't control my temper. My wife, she's threatening to leave. Take the girls, says I'm just like him." His voice cracked. "Maybe she's right." Ali reached across the table and placed his hand on Tommy's shoulder. "Tommy, listen to me. You ain't your father. You feel bad about what you did. That proves you got a heart. Your daddy never felt bad about nothing, did he?" Tommy shook his head. "Never." "Then you're already different than him," Ali said firmly. "But feeling bad ain't enough. You gotta do something about it. You gotta break that chain." For the next 20 minutes, Muhammad Ali talked to Tommy Rodriguez like he was his own brother. He asked about Tommy's daughters, their names, their dreams. He listened as Tommy described the fear in his wife's eyes when his temper flared, the way his children had learned to hide when daddy got mad. "You know what I learned from all them years you picked on me?" Ali asked. "I learned that hurt people. But I also learned that healed people heal people. You want to break that cycle? You want to be different than your daddy? Then you got to heal yourself first." Ali pulled out a business card and wrote something on the back. This is the name of a man in Louisville who helps people like you. People who grew up with anger and don't know how to put it down. You call him, you tell him, Muhammad Ali sent you, and you do the work. Not for me, not because you owe me, but because your daughters deserve a father who ain't carrying his daddy's poison. Tommy stared at the card like it was a lifeline. Why are you helping me? After what I did to you, Ali smiled. Because that's what champions do, Tommy. We don't just beat people down, we lift people up. You made my life hard for a while, but you also made me stronger. Now I'm going to help you get stronger too. As Ali stood to leave, Tommy grabbed his wrist. Muhammad, do you forgive me? For real? Ali looked down at his former tormentor, now just a broken man trying to find his way. Tommy, I forgave you a long time ago. Question is, when you gonna forgive yourself? That night, Tommy Rodriguez called the number on Ali's card. The next morning, he walked into his first anger management session. It took 2 years of hard work, but it worked. Tommy learned to breathe through his anger, to walk away from confrontation, to see his daughters not as burdens but as blessings. In 1974, Tommy sent Ali a letter with a photo of his family. Dear Muhammad, he wrote, this is what forgiveness looks like. Thank you for seeing the man I could become instead of the boy I used to be. Ali kept that letter until the day he died. When he passed away in 2016, Tommy Rodriguez was one of thousands who attended his funeral. At the funeral, Tommy found a reporter and told them about the night in Morrison's restaurant, about how Ali's grace had broken a cycle of pain that had poisoned his family for generations. People remember Muhammad Ali for a lot of things, Tommy said, tears streaming down his weathered face. But I'll remember him as the man who saw a bully and decided to save him instead of destroy him. That takes a different kind of strength than winning fights. That takes the strength of a true champion. The story of Muhammad Ali and Tommy Rodriguez reminds us that true victory isn't about defeating our enemies. It's about transforming them. Sometimes the greatest fights we win are the ones where we choose not to throw a punch, but to extend a hand.